study.
Recording
Okay,
is
just a
on.
second. Okay, yeah. So we are going to study about clinical trial registry because every clinical trial which is conducted in the world, so it should be officially registered before it starts. Like even if it's starting, before that only we have to register it somewhere. Without registration, a clinical trial is considered illegal or can be said it is unethical. So, so you are going to be a future professional in clinical research, pharmacovigilance, regulatory CRC. So you should know where these trials are registered and how they are registered. Okay, can we move to next slide? Yeah. So okay. So CTRI, which is Clinical Trial Registry of India, is an official website which is managed by ICMR because it's for India, and we have seen that whatever the rules and regulations are majorly followed in India are given by ICMR, all the guidelines. So ICMR is the topmost medical research body in India. So that's why the whole website is being managed by ICMR. It is hosted by NIMS, which is National Institute of Medical Statistics. So, which is an institute that handles all the medical data. So, the registry is free to use. It is available online and it is open to public. And the main purpose of this CTRI portal is to register all clinical trials that are conducted in India so that trial information is transparent and it is accessible. And it was launched on 20th July 2007. So, so since 2007, India has for India has had a formal system to record and monitor clinical trials. So this helped bring structure and accountability to clinical research in the country. So before that, even though they were using or like they were using some systems, but there was no single platform for registration, or like if somebody wants to see what exactly the what trials are going on and what are the upcoming trials, or what was the result of these trials. Like for example, you have to try some drug, but you have to make sure that um, what was the result of that trial. So for that reason, this is an open portal. Anybody can go and see the data, which is made available for the general public to see. So at first, registration was optional, meaning like sponsor could choose whether or not to register the trial. So, however, many trials were not being reported properly. So, to make sure that ethical conduct is done properly and patient safety is maintained, so DCGI made CTRI registration compulsory. Before that, people used to feel okay, like people used to feel that this registration is only for the normal people to see what is going on in the trial and what is being completed. But later on, DCGI made it very much compulsory, which is Drug Controller General of India. But you can say that is a head or a signing authority for the trials, we can say. So they made it very compulsory that every trial has to be registered over CTRF. So from 19 July 2009 onwards, no clinical trial in India can legally begin without being registered in CTRI. Okay, are we clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can we move to next slide? So, okay. So, what exactly are the objectives of CTRI? So, first point says that CTRI exists so that clinical trials are not hidden or they are not secret. Everyone involved, like regulator, doctor, and even the public, can see the trials are being conducted properly or not. Transparency means openness, accountability. Uh, the transparency means openness, accountability means responsibility, that we already know that who's responsible for what. So everybody should know who's responsible for what if anything goes wrong or anything goes right. So we know we like the credit goes to whom. The accessibility means information is made very easy to find. So this is the first objective of CTRI. Second objective, explain that CTRI work like an official record book. So it has record of every clinical trial which is going on in India. So it includes trial on drug, devices, vaccine, and even herbal products. The information provided is scientific, neutral, and updated on time, so doctors and healthcare professionals can trust and use it later whenever they feel like. Third point says the aim is to maintain a full and accurate database. So of course it would behave like a database only. So it includes trials that are currently running as well as trials that have already finished. So anyone who needs information, like for example, somebody wants to do some research on the existing project which was already done by someone, but only some part of it was discovered, but you want to do the same research, but you are exploring other part of that drug. For example, one drug was tested for fever, but you want to test it for skin infection also. So for that reason, you need some data which is already there in the market. For that reason, you will go directly to the CTRI, the website. You can go through the trials which were already done, and that data is made very uh, easily accessible. And of course, when it is being registered over CTRI, all the data becomes very authentic, and you can definitely rely on that. Next point says CTRI makes all stakeholders. So stakeholders are sponsor, investigator, ethics committee, regulators, everyone who's taking part, or we can say has a major role in the clinical trial. So CTRI makes all stakeholders more responsible. Since trial details are very much publicly visible, everybody can see that. So everyone is very careful to follow ethical rules and regulations. So this becomes a plus point for the normal people. That everybody who's taking part in the trial will become more cautious, and whatever they are doing, they'll do with more sincerity. Then the next point says, like, who is responsible for registering the trial? Like, there should be someone who takes this responsibility. So registration can be done by sponsor. It can be done by CRO. CRO is the clinical research organization, which is like already hired by sponsor for doing his work only. Like, he delegates his work to CROs कि आप ध्यान दे सकते हो, like that. Or the principal investigator can also register the trial. So someone must take the ownership, and they should ensure that the trial is registered before it starts. Okay. In the next point, it says for example, in multiple countries, the study may already be registered in another global registry. So in such cases, that registration number must be added in CTRI as a secondary ID. So this becomes a very important point. So this helps link the same trial across different countries, and it avoids duplication. So it's not just that it's for India and whatever the trials are done in India, that only you are registering. Of course, you need to register that. But if, like, someone, for example, I'm doing a trial which was already done in America, so I have to mention their ID number. Like whatever the trial registration ID would be there, we have to mention it, that I have taken all these data from there, or this is a continuation of that trial. So we have to mention that data also, that ID also. The next point says, so this registration is not a one-time activity. Okay, trial information must be kept updated regularly. Of course, when you have to register the trial before it begins. So whatever the updates are being done in the trial, there should be one person, like any of the person we discussed in the in the previous point, that it could be the sponsor, CRO, or the principal investigator. They should take the responsibility that, okay, we will keep updating the trial information as it moves forward. So after every 6 months or a year, you have to make sure that the data is updated. So this makes sure that the data on CTRI remains current, like which is already going on, and reflect the true status of the trial. So we can say CTRI is not just about registering trials, it's about maintaining the transparency, then responsibility, and updated information throughout the life of a clinical trial. Like till when the clinical trial is being conducted, we have to make sure that all the data is being updated into the trial. Are we clear with this? Can we move
Yes.
to next slide? Okay. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay. Registration data set of the CTRI. So it's like this slide explain what information must be entered while registering a clinical trial in CTRI. So we can think it as a complete form, details required for trial registration, like the all these, like for example, when we are applying for um, some quest, maybe some pageant. So for that reason, we should like we always see what and all are the essential documents. या हमें क्या क्या चाहिए, what and all we have to submit. Even though when we are applying for some of the exams also, we see what and all are the eligibility criteria, what and all are the requirements, what certification needs to be submitted. So consider this as the same thing. So first of all, we need a registration number, which is a unique CTRI number, which is generated after you successfully register your clinical trial. So this becomes an identity number. So whenever you are using, and it has to be used in reports, publication, audit, every time you have to mention. You do not have to write the full name of your trial. This number is enough. Then comes the date. Date, of course, is very important. Then comes the title of study. Public title means which is very non-technical, written in a very easy language, like which is like for fever or for swelling, not inflammation or very exotic words which would be very difficult for people to understand. It's a very basic language of the title. Then you have to write the scientific title of the study, if there is. So, like this is a very technical and scientific name of the study, and it is usually used by researchers or regulators or by professional, not for the normal people. Then comes the investigator name and address, secondary IDs, UTN protocol number, etc. So it's like this includes the details of the investigator who's conducting the trial and other whatever the identification numbers like protocol number, UTN, and anything, whatever number, like whatever the data we need for tracking the investigator or for cross-checking the trial reference, that and all we need to add. Then comes the principal investigator. So principal investigator, like we have to mention who's the principal investigator, what is the job role, what does they do. Then the contact person, like if you have any query in the study or anything, any questions you have, there should be one person of contact for you, so their information is written. For scientific query, like for researchers, for professional people, for regulators. Then comes contact person for public query. Public, like normal people want to know कि कहाँ तक पहुंचा, how much time it will take, or whether it is safe. Like one of a layman do not understand that what it's written, or they are not able to understand what was the result because it was in a statistical format. So there should be one POC for the normal people also. So that's the sixth point. Then comes the source of material or monetary support, like who has given the fund for the study or who has provided the material for the study. So that we have to mention. Then the primary sponsor. Primary sponsor is like a main organization which is responsible for initiating and managing the trial. So they take overall responsibility of the study. Then comes the secondary sponsor, like for example, if any other organization which is supporting the trial financially or operationally, like for example, a hospital who said, okay, like while you market the drug, you can mention our name. You do not have to pay for the trial side. You can take this side for free, like that. So their name would also come. Then countries of recruitment. So we will list all the countries where participants are being recruited. Like it's especially important for multi-country trial. Like in different countries, uh, pay, that drug or that investigational product was tested. So you have to mention the name of all the countries. Then the site of study, like where it was conducted, the whole address and everything. Then name of ethics committee and what is the approval status. So it's like before starting the trial, you will mention the name of the ethics committee and status would be not yet approved or approved. And after the phase one of the trial, then the status of the clinical trial, sorry, Yeah, status of the clinical trial by ethics committee would be something else. Like, yeah, approved, audited, checked, like that. So accordingly, you have to update the status. Then comes regulatory clearance obtained from DCGI. So you have to mention that the trial have received the approval from DCGI or not, because DCGI approval is required for many clinical trials in India, even though it is being approved by ICMR, but still for some of the trials there is mandatory DCGI approvals also. Then health condition or problem which is being studied. So now the cause, like what disease, which condition is being studied, that you have to mention. Then regulatory clearance obtained from DCGI. This repeated point again emphasize the importance of regulatory approval before conducting the trial. Again, you have to make sure that the approval is being granted. Then health condition and problem which is being uh, okay, health condition and problem being studied. Okay, this point is, I guess this is repeated points. Okay. Uh, Point number 17, which is type of study. So this describes the study design, like the like interventional है, observational है, or it is randomized or blinded. Interventional means you are just like a preventive or a yoga therapy. Is it a therapy which is being added like a diet or something, or it is like a proper medicine is being given, or it is just an observational study? You are just observing with a diet or with some of the Ayush category of the study. So that you have to mention. Then interventions and comparator agent. So this explains what treatment is being tested and what it is compared against. For example, you have to mention your drug as well as the gold standard which is already being accepted in the market. Then key inclusion and exclusion criteria, like what was your inclusion criteria, what was your exclusion criteria, on what basis you have selected these participants, or what on what basis you're going to select the participant or do not select the participant, that you have to mention. Then method of generating the randomization sequence, like on what basis you have divided the people in groups. Like was it done by a chat system? I'm just giving an example that you have had chits of two color, green and blue, or a ball of two colors, green and blue, and you just ask someone, you ask the patients or participant to choose one ball one by one randomly with they and they whatever the color was there in their hand, they were divided according to that group. So what exact method you have used for randomization or to make the treatment group, that also you have to mention, or was it like through the through some apps or website or through links, or it was computerized, everything you have to mention in this. Then method of allocation of concealment. So this explains how treatment allocation is hidden from investigator to prevent selection bias. For example, sometimes, like of course, we if it is blinded, or in many of the trial, we have seen that investigator may have someone from the family group, for example. So of course, he or she will think that my family member will should get the treatment and not the placebo. So maybe he'll do something to make sure that his family member goes in a group where treatment is being provided and not placebo. So for that reason, we have to make sure, if we do not want such situation to happen, we need to make sure that the investigator do not know what medicine is going to get to which group. So for that reason, what methods we are going to use to make sure nobody knows what number of patient is going to go in which group. So that method also we have to mention. Like अगर आपको छुपाना है इन्वेस्टिगेटर से, so आपने क्या मेथड यूज किया उसको छुपाने के लिए, कि ठीक है कौन से ग्रुप में कौन सा मेंबर होगा और कौन से मेंबर को या कौन से ग्रुप को कौन सी मेडिसिन मिलेगी. फॉर दैट रीजन what methods you are using, that you have to mention. Then comes the blinding or masking. So this states whether the study is single blinded, double blinded, or open label. Like so we have not very deeply discussed about single blinding, double blinding, but till now you would have like it would be very much clear to you that single blinded means the patient do not know whether they are getting placebo or the standard drug. In double blinding, neither the patient nor the investigator know whether they are getting the placebo or the what do we say, placebo or the treatment. Open label means they both know what they are getting. So, for example, if the trial is for just a diet, so they will know, of course, we are getting a vegetarian diet and that group of people are getting a non-vegetarian diet. So that becomes an open label. So that also we have to mention that is this trial of double blinded, single blinded or open label. Then the primary outcomes, because we mention, like, we register the clinical trial before starting the trial itself. So we have to mention that what we are expecting. The primary outcomes are the main result, what we want to expect from the study. So they determine whether the study is useful or successful or not. Secondary outcomes provide some additional information about safety or effectiveness or like that. Then 25th point says target sample size. So it shows that how many participants does the study require. Okay, that also we have to mention that this study is going to have 200 number of participants in phase 1 to 350 or 500 participants in phase 2 and 1000 participants. So like that we have to mention. Then comes phase of the clinical trial. So this indicates whether the trial is in phase 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on the stage of the drug development. So it's like we know that we have to register it before the start of the trial. At that time, of course, we will put phase 1 going to start. Then after phase 1, you have to update it and you have to mention that phase 1 was being completed, these were the results, and now the trial is in phase 2, and so on. Then comes date of first participant enrollment. So this shows when the first subject was enrolled in the trial. So this also becomes important point that from this day the real trials were started. You have to also mention the estimated duration of the trial, like for how long the study will go on. Then comes the current status of the trial. So you have to mention that it is ongoing, it is completed, it is suspended or terminated. Like that status should be written. Then comes the brief summary of the study. This is like a short overview of the trial, which is written in very simple language. So if somebody do not want to go through the whole trial, they can just read the summary and they can understand what is going on and what they thought and what were the results. Then date of actual study completion. Of course, you have to write when the study was completed. And final enrollment number achieved. So this shows the number of participants who were enrolled, which may differ from the planned number. So we thought we would require 3,000 people in phase 3, but actually we enrolled about 3,500 patients, or and so on, like accordingly, whatever were the requirement of that phase. Are we clear with this? Any doubt in this? In any of the point? Do you guys have any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So apart from registering industry sponsored trials, CTRI encourages. Okay. So this says CTRI is not just for big pharmaceutical company trials. It also encourages students doing MD, MSc, PhD. So if they are doing very small trial, like on just on the college student, a survey based or anything, they can also register their thesis research in the CTRI, and even studies related to Ayush can be registered. So this helps bring academic research under the same ethical and transparent system as the industry trials are. Then second point says, like, many ethics committee and medical colleges now do not approve or accept post graduation thesis studies unless they are registered in CTRI. So they have now become very compulsory thing in some of the medical colleges that if some students is doing PhD or some student is giving their post graduation thesis, it should be registered in CTRI. So this ensures that student research also follow proper ethical standards and it is officially documented for that reason. Then, because of the third point says because of this rule, more and more postgraduate students are registering their studies in CTRI, of course, because now they have made it a mandate. So this has increased the number of academic research records in CTRI, and they have improved the research quality as well as visibility, and also the data which is generated or whatever the research is being registered over that CTRI feels very credible and authentic. So CTRI is not just only for pharma companies, but it is also for students or Ayush research. So making all clinical research in India more transparent and ethical. Okay, can we move to next slide? Okay, so this is how the CTRI page, the website look. So we already know CTRI is a database of privately and publicly funded clinical studies which are conducted worldwide. So this means the database includes trial funded by pharmaceutical companies or trial funded by government or etc. Everything is being written in here. So make a note that you guys have to visit these websites. You have to see the interface, and if you have any doubt in the interface, you can ask it in the next lecture, and you have to ask it. Okay. You already know that it is maintained by whom? National Institute of Health. Okay, and it has over like more than 4 lakh trials from 221 countries registered. Like in this site, we can see that. Okay, can we move to next slide? This was just the website. How does it look? Okay, in ClinicalTrials.gov. So, so what exactly is uh, clinical trials? ClinicalTrials.gov. Just a second. Yeah. So it is a registry of clinical trials. So this means the ClinicalTrial.gov is an official website where clinical trials are registered. So just like CTRI is for India, ClinicalTrials.gov is a global platform which is used to record clinical trials. So till now we have seen the CTRI which was for India. So it has the name India in it, but clinical has like it's like for government basis, and it becomes like a global platform for registering clinical trials. So clinicaltrial.gov is a database of privately and publicly funded clinical studies conducted worldwide. So this means, which I've already said, that it has the data. Either the trial is funded by pharmaceutical companies, which means a private funding, or it is being funded by the government or institution like a public funding. So these studies are conducted all over the world, and it is not limited to just one country. So anyone can search and view trial details in this. So in this, we do not have to add the secondary number when we are registering our clinical trial. For example, I am conducting something in India, and I have used some data which was from the trial which was conducted in America. But so in the CTRI, I had to put that secondary number in that place. But in this, I can directly link my clinical trial data to the one which is being conducted in the America, because this is like a global platform. So that clinical trial details would also be present in here. We do not have to go to another link or another site for that data to search or to make sure that okay, to cross check or anything. At one platform only we are getting everything. And this clinicaltrials.gov is maintained by NLM, which is a National Library of Medicine and National Institute of Health, and it is largest clinical trial database, all like considered for the worldwide sector, I'm telling, not just for India. So as we have mentioned, it has over 4 lakh trial registration from around 221 different countries. Okay. Can you move to next slide? Okay, so this is like a flow chart. So first of all, what is like first is NIH, which is National Institute of Health, which is the top government body in United States for medical and health research, and ClinicalTrial.gov functions under NIH, so which gives it higher credibility and global trust. Of course, if something would be some site would be like powered by or co-powered by government of India like that, or some of the site would having the would have the Indian government logo or anything, then it automatically becomes more trusted. So similarly, the clinicaltrial.gov comes under NIH, and NIH is the top government body in United States for medical and health research. So it maintains NLM, which is National Library of Medicine, is a part of NIH, and it is responsible for managing large amount of medical and scientific information. It's like a library only. So uh, we can say that the whole site is uh, is function like it comes under NIH, National Institute of Health, but there should be someone who is responsible for maintaining it, like to check if there is malfunction or people are adding all the data correctly or not. NIH cannot do that. NIH is like a most upper authority. So for that reason, there's one maintaining authority called NLM, which is National Library of Medicine. So it maintains the website, and this helps it collects, arrange, and share medical research information. And the goal is to make clinical trial data easily available to everyone in a structured and very organized way. Then comes the sponsor and investigator. We already know sponsor is like a pharma company or institution, and investigator is the doctor or researcher who's conducting the trial. So they are the main contributor of information to clinicaltrial.gov because they are the authority. They have the authority to register the trials over the site, and whatever the data will be coming from them would be true as per our knowledge. So they'll know better what participation, application, study design, objective, protocol, everything. And they are also responsible for updating the trial information regularly. And once the study is completed, they may need to upload study results, which makes sure that the uh, whole trial was very transparent and very authentic. Then at the center of the flowchart is a clinicaltrial.gov, which act as a main platform who connects all the stakeholders. So it's like a website and online data. Website and online database for clinical research studies. And it is like a digital library where clinical trials and the results are stored. So anyone can visit this library to look what the study was about and what were the results. Then clinicaltrial.gov also organizes data into study records, and each record contain complete trial information that is very searchable by the public, so they can easily search and see what and all is completed. So there are different we can say different documents or different containers in which the data is being like completed research, ongoing research, or there would be some different sections, so the people can easily go through their section whatever they want to see accordingly, and it is very easily accessible. Then they also make like in that we also know that what medical condition is being studied, what the study is about, is it like for cancer, for diabetes, what is the eligibility criteria. So like whatever the points we have seen there, it's just a repetition of that we have to make sure that all these things are written in the clinical trial.gov, which we have already seen in CTRI. Outcomes, result, what are the outcomes, what were the result, what were the expected results, and what came. Everything needs to be mentioned over here. So this helps the researcher and doctor to understand what was discovered, how it was discovered, and everything. Uh, then comes the patient and healthcare professional. So
So find studies that patient may be able to join and learn more about clinical research. So it's like, of course, if some patient wants to join in clinical research or they want to participate in for very special disease they're having and there's no treatment, but somebody is doing research on that. So they where they will find out कि ऐसी कुछ research हो भी रही है कि नहीं. So they'll directly go to the site, they'll see it, okay, this is happening here, and they can participate. They can check their eligibility criteria and everything. Then healthcare professionals means they'll learn more about clinical research, what is going on in clinical research and everything. Okay, then comes the researcher. So researcher also use ClinicalTrial.gov as a learning and reference tool to, like, they see what were the results, what was reported. So researcher can verify whether the trial results are reported properly and whether they follow the original study plan or not. They can also search for the trial related to a particular disease, drug, or research area, maybe like of their interest. Or by reviewing the existing study, researcher can identify gaps in research, and or they can plan something useful for them to do for the future. So ClinicalTrial.gov act like a bridge between the sponsor who uploads the data, NLM who manages it, and patient, doctors, and researcher who can use this data for knowledge, for the participation, or for the transparency. Okay, can we move to next slide? Okay. So when we talk about history of it, so this means that in 1997, the U.S. government passed a law which was called as Food and Drug Administration Modernization Act. And this law recognized the need for a system where clinical trial could be officially recorded. So as a result, the idea of creating a clinical trial registry was introduced to improve transparency as well as to make sure that patient data is safe, as well as the safety of patient is maintained. Then, following the law in 1997, ClinicalTrial.gov was officially launched in the year 2000. From this date, clinical trial could start being registered on this platform. Then initially registration was not strictly enforced. It was like people used to do it, they do not used to do it like that. But in 2007, a strong law which was called as FDA Amendment Act, which is called as FDAAA, was introduced. This law made it very compulsory to register all the trials and also added penalties and fines if sponsor failed to use or to comply this. So this ensured the sponsors took registration very seriously. So this you should know that when it was introduced, when it was officially used, and what were the amendments. Then from September 27, 2008, reporting of clinical trials became very mandatory. So it was like you have to do it. Then in 2009, reporting of adverse events were also made mandatory. Like from this date, sponsor also had to report if any of the condition, any worse condition of the patient is there, or any side effect during the trial is observed, they have to mention that also. Okay, can we move to next slide? Okay, so this is how clinicaltrial.gov look like, and you can see National Library of Medicine. So this is being managed by National Library of Medicine, and you have to go to this website as well. You have to go to CTRI, you have to go to clinicaltrial.gov as well. Okay, and this is the interface how it looks. Can we move to next slide? Then comes the SUGAM portal. So yeah. So this means the first line says Sugam is an official online portal which is created by Citesco. So of course it is for India, which is India's drug regulatory authority. Citesco we already know, and it was launched in January 2019 to replace paperwork and whatever the manual processes we were following. The main purpose of this was to make regulatory approvals faster, smoother, and more transparent. For example, you can consider, for example, you have You have CTRI. We are just talking about India. Okay. I'm doing some trial. I have registered it over CTRI. And CTRF is like a library, like what is going on, मुझे approval मिला है कि नहीं, to whom I have applied. But there should be one site where we can apply for approvals. For example, for ethics committee or for the regulatory authorities. I am doing some research in Mumbai, but I want approval from, for example, I want an approval from ICMR, which is in Delhi. So I have to write official mail or something like that, or through letter, official confidential letter has to be sent to them. Then they will read that letter. Then they will give the approval in a letter format only, or in a mail format, or whatever it is. In that way, for the secured reason, we usually give the letters. But to make sure that the approvals become faster, permission, submission, if everything becomes faster, Sugam portal was introduced. So this is a portal where we apply for the approval purpose. Like for example, I need to take approval from EC, so I will write my protocol and everything, whatever I have to write it to EC on the Sugam portal, and the approval will also come from the same portal to me. The second point says, uh, like this explains what type of application can be submitted through Sugam. So it is not just limited to drug only. Application which is related to clinical trials, ethics committees, medical devices, vaccines, cosmetics, all can be submitted through this single portal. Like for approval or anything of these things can be submitted through this. So through Sugam portal, applicants can avail the following services. So what in all services we can have through Sugam portal? First one is online submission of application, which is like applicant, if I want to apply. Okay. So applicant can submit application electronically without visiting the regulatory offices. So this reduces delays and paperwork, of course. Second becomes the application review. So once we have submitted the application is reviewed online by CDSCO officials. Then applicant can track the status of their application through the portal, which is like, of course, earlier we used to send some letters and you have to wait for the people like to get that letter, and when they used to reply to us with another letter, then only we used to come to know that ठीक है उनको letter मिल गया था, they have read it and they have submitted back. But now through online apps and platforms, we can easily track कि हमारा letter कहाँ पहुंचा है. So nowadays people do not send letters, but we do send parcels. So we have the tracking number and everything. So in this also, for every application we will get a tracking number, and the status update also कि यार received, read, या जो भी timelines होंगे, everything. Then you can also grant NOC permission, which is no objection certification. So after a successful review, the portal is used to grant NOC approval. So this permission allows applicant to legally proceed with activities like conducting a clinical trial or manufacturing a product. So that this application can also be like, even though this application is submitted on an online portal, it still will be valid and they can proceed. So Sugam is like India's official online regulatory portal where applications are submitted, they can be reviewed, and they are approved by citizens. Okay, can we move to next slide? Yeah. So benefits. If we talk about benefits, so first point says applicant can use Sugam portal to apply for official license also, which is related to import and registration of drugs. So it is a very big thing that even if we want to apply for some license, we can apply it through Sugam portal. And not just for drug, it for other devices or any of the other regulated product, like any of the product which needs regulation or regulatory approvals. For that, licensing can be done over this portal. So there is no need to submit physical form or anything. Everything is done through online. Okay. Then And the second point says applicant can track the status of submitted application. So this we have already seen that whatever, like if they have submitted for the licensing or any of the thing, so they gets a tracking detail of everything and they can review that what's the progress and they can check the update. Then the next point says applicant can respond to queries raised by the authority. So for example, if the authority have some query, ki, okay, I need some clarification, आपने ऐसा लिखा है, why you have written like this. So that also that query can also be raised on the same portal and the answer to that queries can also be submitted by the applicant on the same portal. So it shouldn't be like कि आपने यहाँ पे submit किया अभी they'll have a call or anything. No, whenever the authority is reading your application and whenever they feel they have some query, they can directly write it to you over that same portal. You will get the notification and you can answer that on the same portal. It saves a lot of time. Then the next point says all required documents like form, certificate, approval can be uploaded digitally on this. So this stores the document. We can handle the document more easy on a very easier way, faster, and they are more organized and everything comes at a single site. Are we clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can we move to next slide? Okay. If we talk about objectives of SUGAM, so SUGAM provides a one common platform for all stakeholders, which are like pharma companies, CROs, regulators, everyone. So it becomes one single platform. So if an investigator or a sponsor wants to write something to regulatory authorities, they can use this. If CRO wants to use, they can use this. If any of the regulatory bodies wants to reply, they can use the same platform. So it is not like there's two platform, one for submitting and one for accepting the approval, one single platform. Okay, so this makes the process more standardized as well as it becomes more simple and faster. The second objective is to focus on organizing and simplifying regulatory activities, which means SUGAM brings different SEDESCO processes together and remove the unnecessary steps like writing it down, writing on a letterhead, then submitting it, then whom like किसको submit करना है. This also becomes very important कि ये confidential letter है, this has to be submitted to this person only. And for example, if they are not in the office, maybe somebody else can read. So all these things becomes very important, and through Sugam portal, we are directly submitting it to Cedesco authority, and they'll find out ki this query or this application must be reviewed by whom. So it becomes more streamlined process for them. Then the next objective says Sugam reduces or eliminates paperwork. Yeah. Applicant review, application reviews, and approvals are all handled online, which save time, cost, as well as physical storage problem. So for that reason, this data can be stored for a longer period of time as compared to the paper data. Then comes, yeah, it helps to enhance the transparency. Yeah, because everybody know what was the application, what was the query, and how the approval is granted. So everything is being seen by everybody, like all the stakeholders in the who are the like by all the authorities who are authorized to see that. Then it promote ease of doing business for a pharmaceutical industry and regulatory authority. So of course, Sugam helps pharma companies by reducing delay and complexity. So the thing will be quick, the approval will be quick, so it becomes very easier for them. Like jitni jaldi khatam hoga trial, the faster they can sell their product into the market. So it becomes beneficial for them. The next objective is that whatever the information which is related to the drug quality, safety, and standard of the drug is made accessible to to everybody, like to the authority over there. And ultimately, this benefits the consumer only by improving confidence in regulated medicine. So, like, of course, if anybody can see कि ये medicine में क्या approval है, क्या what was the query, how it was approved. So, so people can also think, okay, whatever the query was there, it was corrected, and जो भी, and we have to also uh, like it becomes very transparent for us also to make sure कि जो भी medicine we are getting, it has gone through multiple checkpoints and we can see कि हाँ कुछ तो इन्होंने ethics committee का approval लिया, that's why the query has been raised or anything. So the we can say the main goal of SUGAM is to make CDSCO regulatory process very faster, very transparent, paperless, as well as industry friendly. So like when it is faster, it automatically becomes industry friendly only, so that the trials can be completed on a faster note and the medicines can be sold out into the market. Are we clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Was this the last slide? Okay, yeah. This is the SUGAM portal. So your activity is to visit all these three sites: CTRI, ClinicalTrial.gov, and Cedisco also you can go through, and SUGAM. So four sites you have to go through. You have to check the interface. You have to browse through their menu, and you have to see what and all things are there. You can explore all the categories there. Okay, and if you have any doubt, you can ask me in the next lecture.
Ma'am, can we
Okay.
get links on group?
Yeah, sure. We'll share. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Okay, then we'll wait for recording to stop and then you guys can.